2本目のビデオを収録しています。本日はフィリピンから私と同い年25歳のお友達アインを招待してお話ししていきたいと思います。
You ready?
I am ready. Let's begin. Okay. So I'm gonna explain the first question. Where are you from? How old you are? So I'm gonna skip this. And are you in lockdown at the moment in the Philippines?
Yes, we are. It's been 70 days since our lockdown.
Okay. So when the situation became really bad, was the government taking the action quite quickly?
I don't think it was quick enough. When we first heard about the virus, especially when it was from Wuhan, we didn't have a travel ban. We allowed a lot of people to come in, and that kind of started the breakout. So I don't think it was fast enough.
Okay. So I think Japan is more or less the same because at the time the head of the government in China, I don't know how to pronounce it in his name in English, but he was about to come in a few weeks. So the government didn't really want to make the relationship bad, so we didn't do any travel ban apart from the state that virus happened was banned, but otherwise people could travel. And how's the situation now? Is it better now?
I think people are getting used to the new normal, but I haven't gone out of the house in 70 days. We have one person allowed per household to go out. So for us, it's my dad. So he's the only one who can go out and go to work and do groceries and stuff. So I think it's easy for me because I have my family and stuff. But for a lot of people who don't have jobs anymore, who lost their jobs, it's very difficult. So
Yeah. So what kind of business are operating now?
Mostly just essential businesses. So we have a lot of grocery stores and drugstores. We have food delivery. So I think right now those are huge.
Okay. I remember your mom has a catering business. At the moment,
yes.
It's stopped, right?
Well, they actually stopped. They stopped operating last year, but all events, all like businesses such as that, so catering, restaurants, they're all closed down now. I think restaurants are open but only for takeout, and they're only open from I think noon to 5 p.m. So at night there's nothing.
So the business hour has been shortened. I see.
Yes.
So I heard that, so you told me there's only one person that is allowed to go out for the shopping. So you're not allowed to go outside and gather with people, right?
Not at all. Not at all.
Okay. Yeah, same as Japan at some point. But let's go back to lockdown. Do you have the impression that the government decided to lock down? How did you see people reacting to that?
Well, of course, at first it was a little panic. I was panicking a little bit because I didn't know what that would feel like. I've never had to experience a lockdown in my life.
Right.
But I guess when we started understanding what the coronavirus was, it kind of made sense because we can't really be around people. But yeah, I think pretty much we were understanding about it. Our main concern was making money. A lot of people rely on going to their jobs for their jobs. So yeah, that was the hardest adjustment.
Okay. So the government is obliging people to stay home, right?
Yes.
So what will happen if you break the rule?
I've heard some people getting arrested.
Yeah.
Yeah, mostly they get arrested. So yeah, I think it's difficult. But I think it's different if, for example, you have a private car. If you have a private car, you can get away with stuff because they don't really get to check everyone. But for example, if you need to use public transportation, we don't have public transportation, so it can walk by the authorities. Yeah.
So no buses, no trains now?
No.
Okay,
Nothing.
so
In
everyone
Manila.
travels with cars.
Yes.
Okay.
Or by
So,
foot. Some people are walking.
okay.
Walking
They're
for
walking.
hours.
Oh no,
hmm
that sounds really tough.
Yeah. It is tough, especially for people who need to go to the hospital and then they
Yeah,
don't have cars. So they don't have an option but to walk. So I
yeah.
heard this one person, he needed to go to the hospital for his dialysis because he has a kidney problem, I think. But he had to walk to the hospital because of
Oh,
that. So it's crazy.
yeah. So in Japan, we're not in lockdown, and I'll send you this guideline before, so you knew it when you read it.
Mhm.
But did you know that?
No, not at all. I assumed, I mean, I lived in Japan for a little bit, so I thought, everyone is very disciplined. So I assumed that, with the coronavirus, the first thing that Japan would do as well is to have a lockdown. But you said that it's not something that you guys can do because of your constitution?
Mhm. So
Mm-hmm.
the government is not just depending on our discipline. It's more
Mm-hmm.
like because there's a law that the government has to respect, or all the people in Japan have to respect basic human rights. So regardless of
Yeah.
protecting people's health, the government can't stop people from going out or stop people from doing something. So that is why I personally think that it's a bit weird because the citizens' health has to be, protected, and it should be
Mm-hmm.
the top one priority. But seems to be the government is cherishing law, so that is why it's a requesting base.
Mm-hmm. So, do you guys sorry, I need to ask the question. Do you guys
Yeah,
still
yeah.
live normally? Like, do you go to work and go to events and stuff, or
No,
has it
it's
changed?
quite similar to lockdown actually because the government or the governor of each city are advising people strongly, saying, please try not to go out, like saying, try
Mm-hmm.
not to go out, or please refrain from going out unless you have urgent needs, apart from doing shopping, obviously, or going to the hospital. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, people are afraid of the virus. I think that fear is the most thing that people stop from going out. So it's working, seems to be working, but yeah, some cases there are people in a park gathering, drinking together, stuff like that. That is something that we see quite usually. And okay, so how do you think about this um
Hello. I'm sorry.
hello? Am I
Sorry,
frozen?
my internet lagged, I think.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Did you hear me?
I hear you now.
Okay. So yeah. How do you think about this standard that the government is prioritizing the law to respect human rights more than people's health in a way?
I think it's very confusing, especially since I think healthcare is also a human right. So, and I mean, the lockdown is not a permanent thing. So it's just a couple of months until we can all go back to normal. So I think it's a necessary thing that we need to implement, especially if, I guess the situation is different in Manila. In Manila, if we don't have a lockdown, people will be out and people will be in crowded places. I don't think we have the same amount of discipline that Japanese people are known for, or at least it gets crazy here because of the poverty and the necessities and our lack of proper public transportation. So I think just for the benefit of everybody, it is necessary that we have this lockdown in place. However, because of the lockdown, the government should also be doing something else to help with our financial situations, because not everyone can afford to have a car. Not everyone can afford to have groceries for 2 months without working. So it goes hand in hand. I think the lockdown is good, but uh, necessary precautions and other support should be in place. It can't be just, like, let's just not go out, period. It's hard to look at it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So your brother still goes to school? I mean, is he still a student?
Yes. My brother and my sister are both still in school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
But
you're doing homeschooling at the moment?
my brother actually, so my brother's a senior in high school, so he was supposed to graduate this year. So unfortunately, they had to cancel all classes. They graduated.
Oh, I'm sorry for him.
They graduated without graduating last year in high school, and he didn't get to say goodbye or anything. So his classes are done. However, my sister, who is in medical school, she still has classes. So actually, right now, she's downstairs taking a quiz or something. So everything is online for her.
Okay, I see. When our Prime Minister declared to close schools due to this pandemic, there were loads of working mothers were against about the idea.
Yeah.
And I heard loads of against voices rather than supportive voices. Was there a similar case in the Philippines?
Actually, not that much. I think it's because everyone was panicking about the health situation that they kind of just stopped caring about all the other stuff, like schooling. So I've been reading some threads on Facebook, and people were saying that the parents will not be sending their kids to school for the next year, so they'll skip a whole year of school because of this pandemic. So a lot of parents are choosing not to enroll their kids instead of, risking their health. So a lot of them, I think a lot are considering homeschooling, but because parents need to go to work and not everyone gets to stay at home, I think some of them are just choosing not to enroll their kids at all.
I see. I think more of the homeschooling system will be accessible in very near future because of this pandemic. So I would like to talk about medical situation. Are hospital in the Philippines packed?
Yes, I think so. We don't have a lot of funding for a situation like this, and so we've been raising funds. I think a lot of private organizations and individuals have been trying to raise funds so we can donate protective equipment, and so we can feed the frontliners, because like food is a big deal as well. So yeah, it's been really hard. A lot of hospitals don't have space anymore to accept more patients, and so I've heard some news about some people getting turned away and asking to go home instead. So yeah, it's been crazy. We really
Okay.
can't.
So how's the testing system? Is it widely accessible?
I'm sorry.
How is the testing system? Is it widely accessible?
So that's actually a huge issue right now, because it's not accessible for the public. A lot of people are asked to come back only when they have a certain number of symptoms. So if you lack, let's say, one symptom, people are asked to go back and just come back when it's like a bigger probability. I think there's also it's weird. I really find it weird, because some senators, some politicians have access to testing. They've gotten tested twice, but then normal people don't have access to it. So that's a huge issue right now. I think
it's quite
more
similar
than
in Japan as well.
anything, citizens are getting mad. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it
Really?
sucks. Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the government is trying to make it more available, but still, some countries are doing drive-through, and or maybe they go to a big sports center or something and get tested, but it's not working like that in Japan. And how do you do to be entitled to go to the hospital or stay in a hospital? Do you have to call the National Healthcare Center or something?
I think you need to call the hospitals directly and inquire if they have space. Because I've heard some stories where people try to go there without calling first, and they end up just being turned away because there's no space for them. So I think you have to secure your spot first and then go there if it's available. I think that's how.
So in Japan, you have to call National Healthcare Center, public healthcare center, and then you explain the symptoms. But sometimes it's totally depending on the operator. If the operator takes the symptoms seriously, you are entitled to go to the hospital. But I think it really varies.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just assumed that Japan would have all the drive-through stuff as well, because it's Japan.
Yeah, but unfortunately, not really. Yeah, I think
world
there's so many procedures to do before make it available. So while the government is discussing to be able to make things accessible, things get worse.
It's difficult. How long have you guys been on lockdown? How long have you guys been dealing with Corona?
So voluntary lockdown, because it's voluntary, has been going on for like 6 weeks. So yeah, it's been 6 weeks, and then some of the areas are losing the restrictions, but Tokyo is not. Tokyo is still doing this voluntary lockdown. So do you get any kind of financial support from the government?
I believe people are getting financial support, especially I think private employees, government employees. Well, basically, if you're an employee, you get something. But since I'm a freelancer, I'm a business owner, I didn't get anything. So I didn't even bother applying for it. But I believe you can get it. I think it was around
Okay.
8,000 pesos. Let me check how much that is in dollars. In dollars, it's 158 US dollars. So
Okay.
it's not a lot compared to how much you guys are getting.
Right. Probably meals for a day will be covered
Mm-hmm.
if I receive that in
Well,
Japan.
for ours? Oh my goodness, really? Ugh.
No, not for
Yeah.
a day.
The,
Well,
the
if you're a
exchange.
family,
Yeah.
and
Maybe a few days.
I think 3 or 4 days will be covered.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yeah.
most of the family, they spend $300 for a month for food,
Okay.
but still
So like half
that's
of that. Mm-hmm.
quite minimum
Mm-hmm.
$300.
Yeah.
So in Japan we can receive 1,000 USD. Anyone can receive that as long as you
Wow.
submit the form. But I
Mm-hmm.
haven't got the letter yet. It's being on a discussion for a month or so. So I think it's a good time to receive it, but I haven't. But yeah, this kind of financial support is kind of guaranteed at the moment. Also,
That's good.
freelancers are entitled to get some kind of financial support by showing your payroll for
Mm-hmm.
current month and the year before of the same month. No, the year before. Yeah,
That's
same month of the year before.
Mm-hmm.
So the government also gave away 2 reusable masks for each household. Did your country do something similar?
I don't think we were given masks, but I think it depends on the city because the local government is doing it. So it depends on the city. But for ours, mostly residents have been getting relief goods. So canned goods, canned food, rice. Our house, we didn't get anything here, our household, but I've heard some of the neighbors have been getting some. So I don't know how they do it, how they distribute stuff, but some people have been getting help, others not quite. So I don't really know, but it's mostly food and not masks.
Okay. Well, even the masks are given by the government. The government spends so much money on it. So, and then that's the tax that we pay. So it's a little bit mixing feeling because some of the people, no, many people found so many errors from the masks. Like there was stains or sewing errors and stuff.
Really? Because masks are supposed to be, clean and
Yeah, it should be the most hygienic stuff.
yes, exactly.
So yeah, what do you learn from this situation? Both positive things and negative things.
Well, I think what I learned, the positive side is that I've gotten to spend a lot of time with family. I live with my family now. My sister came home from her apartment near her school, so she's been staying with us. It's been a good time to reconnect and just be sort of like kids again, because I haven't had the chance to stay at home and rest and, do this for a long time. So that's been good. But I guess I also learned that this isn't something that everyone in the Philippines can simply survive. I realize that there are so many flaws in our system that if we shut down even for a few weeks, a couple of months, it will really, really affect people. And so I've learned that moving in how we save our money and how we provide employees privileges. Yeah, for the longest time I thought, if you work hard enough, anything is possible. But then in 2020, a pandemic happens, and all of a sudden the entire world is shut down. So I realized that, we're not as powerful as we think we are, and it really matters if you save up and prepare for the worst, because the worst can happen. I think this is the worst that can happen so far.
Yes.
So knock on wood, it doesn't get any worse than this. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. What do you miss the most?
I miss being around people so much. Just being able to see my friends, getting out of the house and being able to get stuff for myself. It's like these are such small things that I took for granted before. And now that it's gone, I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Why did I take it for granted? So I really miss seeing people and being able to hug people and talking to people. So
Same.
yeah.
Yes. I only do my
Right.
family. That's it.
Are you living with your family now?
Yes. I live with my mom
Yeah.
and grandma. My dad lives in Taiwan now for work.
Oh.
And he wants to come back here, but we found out that there's so much hassle because if he flew back from Taiwan, he has to do self-quarantine for 2 weeks. And then when he flew back to Taiwan, he has to do the same. And at the same time, he has to go to work. So we found out it's quite unrealistic. So it didn't happen.
Yeah. And the situation in Taiwan is better, I've heard.
Yes.
Yeah.
They took the action at a very fast pace.
Yeah.
And I think the government did it very well.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It's really cool.
So at least you don't have to worry about your dad that much.
Yes. Right. So yeah, that's all. Thank you.